Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Paige, this is Seeking Alexandria, and guys, today it is time for a much anticipated product updates video. Now, these are videos that I love doing for you guys. I try to do them roughly every 3 to 4 weeks, depending on products and how much you guys want to hear about what I think of them in the end. So I'm putting this one up today. I think it's been about 3 weeks from my last one, which I will link up here. And per usual, anytime I do one of these videos, there are a ton of links. So I only get 5 links up there, 4 more after that link I just used. So all of these links will be down below with their corresponding products if you'd like to see whatever video it is that I'm talking about with them. So let's go ahead and dive into some of the hot products, because there are quite a few that you guys are really curious about, and then some other ones that I just wanted to throw in so I can tell you what I thought. I'm gonna go ahead though and get started with a pretty hot one, which is the Jeffree Star powder and concealers. Now, these are ones that I did do obviously a full video, full wear test on, which I will link up above and down below. And these, I had a rough time. So I'm going to talk about the concealers and the powders. I'm going to try to make this as quick and precise as I can because there are a lot of products to get through today. The first thing I want to mention though are the powders. Now, I did pick these up in 3 shades. I have translucent, fair, and beige. So I'm going to go ahead actually and start off with the con, which is that these are a setting powder. I have a very difficult time. I can't use these as just a setting powder like I would my Hourglass Translucent or my Maybelline Fit Me. I can't use these in that respect because they actually settle and sink into my pores too far. They don't fill them out, and I feel like these really emphasize my texture. So I can't use them in that sense. Now, to their credit, they are not alone in that sense. The ones from Fenty, the ones that are any type of a powder like this that has a very, very fine mill, and I believe the consistency or the reference that I used in my video, the original video with these, was that of powdered sugar versus flour, and how powdered sugar is just very, very, very fine and very ground down versus flour, which has a very nice, fine, powdery viscosity, but it is a little bit thicker inherently, and it bakes up a lot different than a powdered sugar would. You know, if you were to use powdered sugar in place of flour, what kind of a cake would you have? Well, you'd have a melty little mess now, wouldn't you? But if you go in with flour, you have buoyancy, you have texture, you have a little bit more robustness to it. And these for me are more on the powdered sugar side, which I can't ever use a powder like that. Again, whether it's these, Fenty, or anything of the like, I can't really use these to set my face, but I can use them to brighten up or to bake with, and they work pretty well for that. Out of all the shades, I feel like beige is okay if I want a very, very, very light line. Translucent is pretty much too intense for me regardless. It does leave a pretty harsh white cast, but the one that I did go in with today even is the shade Fair, which is the middle shade right here. And what I like about this is the fact that it gives me a very subtle line on my jaw, which I really appreciate. Now, everybody is talking about the packaging. Is it cheap? Yes. Like, do I think that this one was kind of an afterthought, or it looks more like an afterthought than the concealers? Kind of, yes. I feel like this one was just more of like, oh, we're gonna take a standard package, but we're gonna just like make it look a little cheaper. I wish that this would have been designed just a little bit nicer, a little bit more upscale, especially considering how much intricate detail the concealers got. For me, the powders, not bad. They're not my favorite. I don't really find that I need them, but they're also not awful. Like, to me, they're just kind of an in-between product. Typically, because I feel like makeup community is so saturated, anytime there is an in-between product, I usually err on the side that you don't need it, just because like there's so many things that if it's not standout, do you want to spend your money on it, sort of thing. They don't bother me. They're not my favorite. I guess that's really where I would leave it. Now the concealers. The concealers. Now, if you watch that video, you will know that one of my little stars showed up, dropped off. Like, there was no star on this package, and it was kind of a bummer for me because when I saw these launched, I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. Like, the component is interesting. And then when mine showed up busted, I was like, okay, maybe I'm the only one. Well, then I've seen reports and people all over the internet talking about how, girl, you are not the only one. It happened to a lot of people. And then as I was getting ready to gather my products and film today's video, another one fell right off, and I didn't drop it. I didn't do anything with it. I picked the concealer up, I set it down, and off came the star. So I feel like for me, the packaging of these is not very practical. I feel like he was trying to say like, oh, they're good, they're sturdy, but they are not good, nor are they sturdy in my opinion. Now that I have had one show up without a star and the other one break, literally just all I did was pick it up just like this, and I set it on my vanity. That's all I did. I didn't like throw it across the room. I didn't drop it. And the fact that that can happen so easily, I just feel like like these are not very practical. I like the overall concept. The idea is nice, but just not very practical for wearability or breakage or anything like that. The other thing I also took issue with these was the amount of product you get. Again, if you watch that video, you've already heard all of that. As far as how much these cost, you can go see an actual math breakdown. I get into all of that, like the real fine nitty gritty of the product, the amount of money compared to other high-end concealers. You can go check that video out. For me, these concealers definitely weren't my favorite. They weren't the worst I've ever used, but they weren't my favorite. I don't know. I definitely don't think for me that they're worth the price. That's for sure. And now I will also mention too real quick the color correctors. The green one you guys saw me use on camera, I definitely don't like that one. I don't think it's worth it. I am still going to keep playing around with the peach color corrector, this guy right here, seeing if I like it, if I use it. But I think for me, what this one boils down to is actually the color of it. I don't feel like it works for what I need it for because I don't feel like it's a strong enough undertone. Now, I did recently pick up the one from Nikita as well, her Dragon collection. And if you guys want to see that, you can let me know down below and I'll throw it in a video. But I picked that one up specifically because I've seen that one in action and it looks beautiful. And I'm wondering if because that one has a much more harsh or deep tone to it, if maybe that's why people are having a greater success versus this one. I'm not really sure. But I just found that with this one, I didn't really have a lot of success with this color, with this shade. It didn't do nothing, but it also didn't do everything. You know what I mean? Like it didn't work the best. And using it with his concealer was an absolute no because I don't get enough coverage from his concealer anyways. And I think right there for me, that kind of tells everything. If I'm going to go in with a color corrector, I expect it to be worth the step in a very dramatic way. And for me, it just wasn't. So those are my thoughts so far. I will keep working with them and let you guys know as I work with them if I find a way that's just like crazy over the top. But those are my thoughts so far on those. And I think the only other thing I have from Jeffree Star that I did want to touch on a little bit is actually his Blue Blood palette right here, which of course I did a full review on. I'll link down below and up above. This I don't hate. Here was my issue with this when I first started working with it. You can go check out that video if you'd like a lot of full in-depth details. But I did have an issue with a lot of these lighter matte shades working on my skin tone, building up to full pigmentation. And definitely something that did not change as I continued to work with the palette. Now, I don't know, I haven't heard if any other more medium to deep skin tones had that same issue. Maybe it was just me, maybe it's a palette situation, I don't know. As far as the rest of the shades in here though, I don't hate them. For me, what I struggle with when I see this palette is just something that I use every day. Is it something I gravitate towards? No. I did find I had a little bit of a difficult time getting the deeper shades to blend out, which I believe I mentioned in that video as well. So overall for me, packaging is great. Was this my favorite? No. Am I shocked though? Not really, because I'm not sure if it's me that I don't love the formula, if I don't like the color scheme. I don't ever want to tell you guys I love something that I don't, or vice versa, based on an opinion of a color story or something like that. And if I am telling you I don't like something because of the color story, I want to know that that's the case. And I guess what I mean is I don't ever want to tell you guys, well, I hate this palette, when really I don't hate the palette, I don't hate the pigmentation, I just don't like the color story. And in this situation, I don't hate the color story, I don't hate the whole formula, there's just little things about it that I don't love. And then couple that with the fact that these are colors I don't get a ton of use out of, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's a little bit of everything. Overall, I do think it's a decent palette. So next up, we're gonna dive into two foundations that I have been wearing and testing quite a bit. And it's ironic because they are pretty opposite each other. So this is the Pure 4-in-1 Love Your Selfie foundation, and then this is the Luma Beauty Say What Weightless Soft Matte foundation. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and start off with this Pure one, but I just thought it was ironic that they both kind of had the opposite issue. The Pure one, when I put it on, it applied beautifully to the skin, and of course I did a full review video of this. I will link it above and down below, or wherever it needs to be at this point. But for this foundation, what I loved about it was the way it applied, the way it settled into the skin, blended out, set down. Everything looked very, very nice, but I became way too oily when I used my Farsali. Now, I've talked about my Farsali Rose Gold Skin Mist several times. I love it, but it is a more intense, dewy finish to the skin, much more so than the Catrice. Like, I would say 1.5 to 2 times the luminosity and the dewiness you get from Catrice, you get from the Farsali Rose Gold. And so when I went in originally with this foundation and tested it, I used that, it made me way too oily. Well, ever since then, I've been making a point of going in and kind of taking away the dewy elements to my skin and making them more mattifying, whether that's using using just Tatcha as a base, or maybe a more mattifying primer like my Peter Thomas Roth Skin to Die For, something like that. Something to make the skin a little bit more matte underneath. And then when I go in and I set it, I'm very conscious of what I use and how much. Not using the Farsali has been big, only using the Catrice and only using a little bit of it to really spray and coat the face. And those two steps by themselves have made a huge difference in how this looks and wears on the skin. And this is actually the foundation I'm wearing today. I went through and I did the same technique I did in my Scott Barnes Tati video, which I will link up here. Super fun, easy way to do it with the Chanel bronzer, and then you end up using a lot less foundation. Your skin looks very nice and weightless and airy, and I really like that about this foundation. And what was so interesting about this foundation is that it actually wore the complete opposite of how the Pure one wore. So this one made me too oily. This one actually ended up pulling a little bit too matte on my skin, and I had to go in and tweak my products a little bit, but holy crap, once I did, this was so beautiful. Now, they went through and they really designed a huge skincare range, and I'm not going to get into it because I do delve into it in the video that I did about it specifically. But what I thought was really cool about this is because I knew the perspective of what they did, like they came at it and said, okay, they broke it down into 6 skin kins or skin families that they separated based on skin concern and your shade. So for example, I'm in the lightest shade range or skin kin, and they said, okay, what do people with this type of skin or my level of melanin, which is next to none, what do we face on a daily basis when it comes to skin? Hypersensitivity and redness. Okay, so they put things in here that were geared toward my type of skin. And yes, it does kind of over generalize and over marginalize like the skin that we have, because are there some people in the pasty family like what I live in that have a different skin than me or different skin than what they generalized? Yes, absolutely. But what I liked about their approach is that because they said where they were coming from, I was able to say, okay, wait, the first time I wore this, it was really dry and cakey and cracky. Why did it get like that? And I was able to think it through, and as soon as I realized it, I went, oh my God, it's because this foundation, it doesn't want to be mattified. It doesn't want to be overly messed with. It doesn't want to be thick or cakey or pressed in with that Maybelline Fit Me. No, it wants something a little thinner, a little bit more milled. Not something that's overly milled, but something that is just a little bit finer than that Maybelline Fit Me. It wants to be a little bit less dried down. So what I did instead was I went in and I sprayed my face. Remember, I was just talking about that Farsali and how it was a little bit too much? Well, with this foundation, I actually sprayed my face, one spray on each side. I applied the foundation, which the coverage is beautiful. It sits into the skin stunningly, by the way. And then when I went in with this, I applied all my other products per usual, concealer, whatnot. For powder, I did Hourglass Translucent, which is a little thinner than my Maybelline, and it went on perfectly. And then when I was done, I sprayed everything per usual. I finished off with 2 more sprays of my Farsali, and it literally sank into the skin like a dream, and it looked so much better. Now, does this one wear as well on me as I would like? No, it does start to kick off about, I'd say 6 to 8 hours, so I don't get a full like fluent, beautiful wear out of it, but it is a really nice foundation. I wish that it would wear a little bit longer, and I'm still tweaking it to see if I can make it, because I really love so many aspects of this, but because I have to go in and tweak it not to be so mattifying and I have to add the Farsali spray, it does break down a little bit sooner than I would like on my skin, which does kind of suck, but again, I'm working with it. Overall, I like both foundations. I think I like them both for entirely different reasons, which is what kind of sucks. As far as which one works better on my skin, the Pure one does. I have a harder time with it because I grabbed the way wrong shade, LN6, hello, not even close. But it is really beautiful, and again, you can check out that video. I like the way that this one sits on my skin and lasts a little better, but I like the way this one smooths in quicker. So something to consider. I like them both for very different reasons, and you can check out the original videos, which of course will be linked down below, because both of them were very different but had very interesting similarities all at the same time, if that makes sense. So something I meant to mention a minute ago, and then my camera just cut out right as I was talking about it. So I'm just gonna go through it really quickly. This is the Black Magic palette, also from Luma Beauty. This is their Allure Black Magic palette, and I tried working with it in that video. I've tried again, and guys, it makes me so sad. I hate this palette. I'm just gonna tell you honestly, I don't think it's good. The quality just isn't here for me. I have tried so many times to go in with it, whether the color is wrong, which is what happened in the video if you go watch that. The pigmentation of these glitters is horrible. I actually just swatched before the camera shut off. I believe it was this one, and this one, or these 3 right here maybe, and the pigmentation of these is just atrocious. This middle green shade right here is supposed to be a glitter. literally no color. Like, I don't know what it is about this palette, but the formula of the mattes is horrible. But I would pick almost any palette I have over this, and for $44, it's just not worth it. And I'm not trying to, you know, get on the brand's case or anything. I don't feel like this formula was ready to go to market yet. It needed to be worked with a lot. It still had a lot to learn. So for me, this was a huge pass, and I wanted to throw it out there because a lot of you really wanted me to try it again. And guys, I did, and I couldn't. Oh my God, it was just not working out. So no thank you on that. Another one that's going to be just a real quick rapid fire. I feel like this should go without saying, but this is the Colourpop palette. These were their really, really awesome pressed glitters that they came out with, and then they came out with these really nice bright poppy matte shades as well. Of course, I did a full video. I will link it down below. I worked with these a few more times. These are so, so nice. The way that they build and buff and work on the lid, they add a beautiful brilliance and vibrancy to every look that I really, really like. And even as far as the 4 matte shades down here, I've used these quite a few times as well, just to blend and buff. Maybe it was a lower lash line, a little pop here and there, and I really like them. The pigmentation is beautiful. They blend out like a dream. Colourpop is such a good formula time and time again, and I just wanted to throw it out there. I really liked this collection. I thought it was really cool, and I love that we're getting to see so much from such an awesome, affordable brand. I'm so all about it, and I really like this palette, so wanted to throw it out there. So next up, I have a super, super random item, and for those of you that saw it in the thumbnail, because I am so putting this in the thumbnail, you're gonna be like, wait, did I miss her talk about that product? Did I miss her talk about that foundation? This is the Oasis and Color Performance Wear Satin Foundation. This foundation, I sat down, like I told you, to do a full-on foundation wear test review, just like I do with all of them, and this foundation is painful to try and deal with. And from what I saw online, it did have a lot of reviews. By the way, I just did a spray of it, like, or a pump of it. It is so painfully sheer. I don't know if it'll show up on camera or not. You can literally see right through it. This is more of like a tinted CC BB cream situation than anything as far as coverage goes. And I could see why you guys really wanted me to talk about this and dive into it, because it does have beautiful reviews online. And then I started reading those reviews, and I would say 99% of them, or 90% of them, let's not be too dramatic, Paige, 90% of those reviews are from older, more mature skin. So maybe they need a little less coverage. Maybe they just like the luminosity it gives their skin, because a lot of times more mature skin can be on the drier side. I don't know, but I do feel like this did not work for me. I will give you a brief run through why. Number one, the coverage is horrible. I don't like it. It doesn't build. You really cannot do anything with this other than apply it and go. That's all you're going to get out of it. It doesn't build. It doesn't blend. It doesn't buff. That's all you're gonna get. Number one. Number two, this gave me those godforsaken little beads all over my skin, where when I got up close, I could see like little white, little doop 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 doops all over. Oh, you wanna talk about a way to make me violent? Put those things all over my face. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. And normally when those happen, it's from like a more mattifying foundation, maybe a more matte finish, because maybe the beads don't dissolve, or it wasn't shaken all the way, or whatever. It can happen with a lot of other foundations. And this one, no matter where I looked on their packaging, on their website, it's not supposed to do that. So I literally don't know what those little beads were, because again, typically they're more of like a mattifying component, and those shouldn't have been in here. So I don't understand. But nonetheless, for me, I put it on. I kept trying to work with it. I tried to buff and blend all those little beads out all over my face. Still didn't work. Still didn't like it. And then I tried to take it one step further, and I tried to set it and make it work on my skin. And guys, it just would not happen. It literally, just like it's doing right now, it sank into every single crevice of my face. No matter what the primer was, no matter what anything was, I went ahead, I wiped off my entire face, tried it again, and it was still the same. And I remember working with this because I probably bought it and I've tried it 2 different times now. My biggest issue was that when I brought it up close to the camera, like I zoomed in all the way to where the whole frame was right here, because that's where all those little bump things were, and I was trying to show you guys, oh wow, this is what's happening. My biggest issue with it, guess what it was? This had no pigmentation and literally no color to it, that when I zoomed in, my camera couldn't even pick up on the little dots because there was no coverage. So all it would see is my skin. So it looked like just my regular skin, and here I am trying to show you these little white dots. Camera couldn't even pick it up because there was no coverage. So overall for me, this was a huge pass. I'm just gonna kind of breeze through it. Don't be too mad at me. I did try to make a video, and I tried it twice on my face, and I couldn't make it work for camera, and I hate this. I'm gonna see if I can return it. It's awful. And if you want to try it at your own risk. Really just don't see it. I don't see the appeal unless you maybe have really dry, more mature skin, and then it's your thing. That's fine. But for me, no, just no. Blech. 2 more items that I know you guys were so hot to see, and literally the minute I put these up, everybody was like, whoa, what's going on? And I worked with them. It's so funny. Okay, so real quick, I should probably tell you what I'm talking about. The Charlotte Tilbury Glow Gasm palettes. These were a mofo, let me just tell you. So, did I just say mofo? So here's what happened, okay? I filmed my video for these and I used them. I gave you all my thoughts. I will, of course, link that video down below. And I had no issues in that video at the time that I filmed it. However, I did then go in and use this palette once more when I had put that video up. So at that point, I'd used it 3 times. The time in the video, the time between, and then the day I put the video up. So I'd used it 3 times. And at that day, the very day I put it up, which I put the video up really early and it went up before I had used the palette for the 3rd time. At that moment, as I was trying to put the bronzer on my skin, I was like, girl, what is going on here? Literally, guys, I'm not exaggerating. I could not build or buff or blend. I couldn't get any bronzer payoff on my face at all. And I was using the light Gasm collection, which there are 2 different shades here. One is light to medium, one is medium to deep. And so I was using my light Gasm palette, which is the one I should be using because it matches my skin tone. And I had no luck with this at all. So I had a bunch of you guys in the comments that were like, hey, the bronzer was buildable, like were you able to work with it? And all I could do at that point was try to convey to you guys all over the place what I was thinking of this, because the day I went in to use this, the trick was I used a different brush. That's all it took. And I'm sorry, but if you are a I believe this is a $75 palette, the brush I'm using shouldn't matter that much, because in the video I was able to get it to blend onto the skin and actually build up a little bit. Well, then the next day, the day this aired, I went in with this brush, and I referenced this several times in the comments. I told you guys in the comment of that video, I did a pinned comment, I put it in the description box, as well as I put it on Instagram, and then I did a post on the community tab on YouTube talking about this palette specifically, because what I didn't want you guys to do was run out and purchase this, because in the video I had really liked it, and then when it came down to me posting it that day, I didn't end up liking it, and I had a bunch of issues with the bronzer. So I was trying to stop you guys on every level and let you know what I was really thinking, what was really going on inside my head, and I hope that it got to a lot of you. And then I did have a lot of questions. Hey, will you update us? Yes, now that I have used it, let me update you. So the day that I went in with this guy, for the day the video went live. So the day I went in, and I believe I used it on camera, I know for sure I used a different brush. I swept through the bronzer, I applied it. It was light, but I was able to build it. So in the video, you'll actually hear me say, I really like a buildable bronzer. That's my favorite type of bronzer, because that is my favorite type of bronzer. I think that that's the best way to go. I think that when they build up on really fair skin, you can work with them, meld them, fade them. You can just do a lot more and really maintain control without looking like you have a stripe of dirt on your face. It works out really nicely. However, the day I put the video up, the infamous day I realized what was going on in my life, I tried using this brush. Now, this is a great blush brush. This is the Plush Blush Brush 316 from IT Cosmetics. It's a great brush. However, you'll see right here, it is very fluffy. Now, sometimes I will use this brush for bronzer and I won't have an issue with it. Let me tell you, the day I went in and used this palette with this brush, I went in, you know, doop, I dap into it, and I start hitting my perimeters. I went in 6 times and I couldn't see anything. I'm talking 6 times to the face, to the same area of my face, which was right here on my cheekbone. Couldn't see anything. And I was like, why is there nothing coming off? So I went in and I kind of rubbed it with my finger. I thought maybe there was an issue there. Rub. And then I tried to go in again. Same thing. I had to get any bronzer off this palette and squeeze this brush down. So I'm going to put this in front of my face right here. Squeeze this down like this and literally press these bristles together so they were hyper dense, and then go like this. And scrape it through the product like this, and then take this and kind of tap it off a little, like tap it around, and then go in. And even then, the pigmentation was literally pathetic. So I was like, okay, that sucks. So then I went in with this other palette and I was like, okay, this one is for medium to deep skin tones, but maybe I could make this palette work for my super fair ass face. And so I went in to this shade right here, and the pigmentation was good and it came off and everything, but I still didn't feel like at the end of the day, like, yes, did this one work a little bit better? Sure. But to me, I kept thinking after I was able to get this one to work, I'm like, that doesn't work for me, because how is it possible that the light to medium scale, well, I have to use this palette, but then the highlight in here doesn't work. So just because the pigmentation out of the palette that should be geared for a skin tone that is way deeper than me just because this bronzer works, am I gonna recommend this palette? No, because this bronzer shouldn't work for me. This bronzer should not work for me. It should work for medium to deep skin tones. So no, I don't recommend these, and I really hope that this update hits you guys right where you needed it to, because a lot of you were asking me about this, and I wanted to make sure I got it to you in the most informative and concise way possible. So those are my thoughts. And you guys, that is it. Thank you all so much for watching, for hanging out with me. Be sure to let me know all of your thoughts down below. What did you think of these things when you use them? What were your thoughts, opinions overall, products, whatever? I love doing product updates for you guys. I feel like overall this is one of those videos that for some reason not a lot of other channels do, and I don't know why, because you guys are so into them, and every time I ask you guys, hey, do you still want to watch these videos? Let me know down below. You guys always come back with a resounding yes. You thumbs up the video. You guys let me know in every single way that you love these. So I wish other channels would do these, quite frankly. Like, hello, update your people on your products. Update them on what you already told them about. Let them know the good, the bad, the ugly on products. And again, I don't know why other channels don't do it, but let me know down below if you guys are still into it, because I think you are. And I just love hanging out with you guys. I love these types of videos. I feel like it's good to go back through, get a final thought on products, because as a lot of you guys were saying, you don't just like jump on the product bandwagon. And to be honest, if I wasn't on YouTube, neither would I. Like, it's good to wait, gain a couple months, gain some perspective, really let some reviews trickle in and see what you think on it before you spend your hard-earned money on it. Regardless of free shipping or free this or free that, it's still good to know before you put your money out and before you invest in something that you know the reviews overall after a prolonged period of time. So guys, you can let me know again your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. While you're down there, don't forget, check me out on Instagram and on Twitter. They're both little clickable links. All you have to do is click them, click follow. I'm mainly over on Instagram. I'm over there a ton actually. And if you follow me over there, you will have seen me this past weekend shopping with my mama. I got this necklace, for those of you that I know are going to ask, at Walmart. It was $4.88 and it was great. My mom and I went, we did a little shopping for like pre-Mother's Day. We just hung out, I bought like some cheap jewelry. She bought some sunglasses. It was so cute. Sang some Sesame Street in the car. And if you follow me on Instagram, you saw it and it's super cute. So definitely check me out there. And if you haven't done so yet, you can also subscribe and turn on your post notifications here on the wonderful world of YouTube, because I upload 5 videos a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They go up bright and early between 6 and 7 a.m. my time here in Northern Michigan. So thank you all so much for watching. Please do not forget to have a great day, night, weekend, whatever it is when you're watching this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. That was such a long product updates video. Like, I'm afraid to edit that video. I'm afraid for my health, because that's not gonna be, it's not gonna be good. Also, I'm getting stabbed to death with my Invisalign. And I mean to death. And the opposite actually happened with the Pure foundation than with this one. When it came to the wear and how it weared on my... I want you to know that